Hi, I'm John Ruggles, head football coach at Sacred Heart Academy. I've got with me my passing game coordinator from 2018-19 that helped us actually transition from 11-man to 8-man, Connor Murney, who Connor not only transitioned as a player when he was at the high school level, actually went on to set most of the passing records at the 8-man game for the state of Michigan. So he was a great transition help to us in that, and also working out our passing game with 8-man. So it's great to have Connor on here with us. Thanks for joining us, Connor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing we're going to start out with is the transition from 11-man to 8-man. And I'm just going to talk about our reality. Some may be applicable to everybody, and some may be just applicable to us. So I guess just throw away what's not applicable to you and take what is. I think our reality, I first just say, why we made the transition and kind of what the things that led up to that transition, to say what our realities are, because I think that plays a role in the culture that we create and how we did things as we did transition. Our reality was we were still playing competitive football at the 11-man level. It was not a lack of competitive issue. It was really a lack of male student body at our school. Our overall numbers had dropped a little bit, but actually our male student numbers had dropped significantly. To give you an example, the freshman class, when Connor came in, now going to be our junior class this upcoming fall, there was a total of 4 boys in that grade. Not that played football in the school. So that was a little bit of our reality. The attrition from 8th grade to 9th grade that we see in our school is significant. And there's a lot of different factors, and I won't want to get into all those factors. Some of it's public school, large public school in our community, and the parent thought process or the kid thought process of more access to college athletic scholarships. At the larger public school, a lot of those kind of things, that we are seeing a tremendous attrition of boys from 8th grade to 9th grade. And the funny thing about that thought process is we just had 2 young men get college football scholarships coming out of our team this last fall. And I'll talk a little bit more about those realities as we move on, because one of those young men had never played high school football before last year as a senior. So that's part of our reality, though. So just a lack of boys was really the major contributing reason that we did that. And because of that, we play with the numbers of about 20, somewhere in the 20 player range as a high school football program. And that's freshman through senior. So we really don't have the ability to run a JV program. And that also creates sometimes fear for parents and student athletes in the freshman and sophomore years, so that these young people do not play football, even though our staff does a really good job of in practice not lining up for a heavy contact drill, an 18-year-old senior with a freshman that hasn't fully developed yet. We're really cautious about those things. And I think that as we move on as an 8-man program, that word has gotten out to 2 more parents, 2 more student athletes. And I look for a big the 8th grade, current 8th grade class transferring into as a 9th grade group, a higher number of boys that stay and a higher number of boys that play. So that's been a successful culture, adaptation that we've been able to express to people and be able to work that out. So I don't know if you have any thoughts, Connor, on what I've said so far.
Yeah, so I take a little bit more of a different view with or I guess reality, if you want to put it that way. We not only saw participation my underclassmen years leading up to my senior year when we did go 8-man, and just as a little background, I spent 3 years, my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, all playing 11-man football. We were not competitive. We were in a conference that was really not good for our size. We were playing against football teams that had double, triple, even quadruple the numbers that we would bring out on a yearly basis. Just looking at my sophomore year, we won no games. Actually, we went 0-9 and then went 1-8 my junior year. So we were looking at a little different reality with that, where not only did our participation was just lacking participation as a whole, but not being competitive, on a weekly basis. The teams we were playing just not anybody we could realistically stack up against. So, we look at enrollment, especially at Lawrence, and we were competitive in just about every sport. Aside from football leading up to that senior year, we had a school of 190 students. I know Sacred Heart's even smaller. But 190 students, we were playing schools of 3, 4 into 450 numbers, and it just wasn't realistic. So we made that jump, and talking about rejuvenation of a program, it was amazing. Not only did we get kids out that had never played football before that were immediate contributors, but it was just kids that were pure athletes that were able to show what they had on the football field, and even kids developing, as you mentioned. You had a kid there that had never played football before that is going to play college ball, and we had that as well. I mean, we could have had kids that went on and played at the D3 level, if not the D2 level, at some capacity. So I was lucky enough to go play Division III. It was a great experience. I got a year in there, so I kind of have that unique perspective of going from 11-man to 8-man back to 11-man. So, but as far as the rejuvenation of the program, it speaks volumes to what it brings to a school. We had, I think my senior year, we had 25, almost 30 kids play varsity ball. On top of that, also had a JV program. We were building the program. Kind of instilling everything that we were doing at the varsity level, so we made sure we had that success for years to come, not only into the JV level, but also into the junior high and even a little bit into our Rocket program. So it was a whole full program rejuvenation. We started winning, and winning yields a lot of things, not only happiness within the program, within the community, but also gets kids excited. I mean, you had kids that had never played, like we said, never played football before that all of a sudden wanted to be part of this program. And it really helped build what we did there for the next 5 to 6 years, where, my group as a senior, we didn't quite make it to the state championship. We got beat by eventual state champion Peck. Very good team that year. We were those were our only 2 losses aside from St. Phil, who was a regular season undefeated team. Who we eventually knocked off in regional finals. Lucky enough to get a second shot at them. We got a second shot at Peck. Unfortunately, came up short again, but very good team. That next year, it just kind of fueled the fire for them to build on what we had done the year before. And it was almost like, okay, well, I'm stepping in the shoes of these seniors that kind of paved the way, and that was my group. We're not going to do that again. We're not selling for anything less, and that was just something that we put into the program year after year after year. And my 2 coaches, Cody Caswell and Aaron Amthor, were just key to everything that happened. And John did a great job. We all did a really good job of kind of instilling that success into the program. So, very, very unique perspective on that. We saw everything come full swing there. I remember junior year, homecoming, we were down pretty big even at halftime, and you know, you could count the people in the stands. Senior year, with 8-man, everybody was there. The whole community came out. Everybody was super happy for our success, and was really on board with watching what we were doing. And I think that is something that can happen in any small town program, whether you're competitive at the level you're at right now, you want to be more competitive, or just want to see more participation and rejuvenate that program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. That, I mean, we obviously can have multiple reasons why we make the switch, but we saw great over the last couple of years increased crowds at our games. We've consistently made the playoffs every year, so it hasn't been a competitive, like I say, a competitive issue. But literally, the game is really exciting. So. You know, it's a little bit more fast-paced, a little more wide open of a game. Guess the same reasons why people go to see an Arena League football game. You know, that the crowd likes it. I've had a lot of folks in the community just come up to me and say, "I actually enjoy the 8-man football more than the 11-man game." That's nothing. Obviously, I love the 11-man game. That's nothing against that. Just to say that. Actually, for the crowd, and probably for especially the uninformed crowd that just wants to come and watch an exciting game, there's a lot of things that happen in an 8-man game that just make it a pretty exciting game to watch and just be a part of. And we've also seen that trickle down into the student body. So as students have come out to the games and go, "Man, that looks like fun. I'd like to go be a part of that." You know, that really helps to increase our athletes coming out to play for us. So, yeah, I mean, you know, here that we'll just keep talking about some of what that looks like. So what we've had to do just as our male enrollment dropped at Sacred Heart, and to kind of give our numbers, congregative numbers for what Lawrence looks like, you know, this last year I think we had 112 students in our school. So even at the 8-man level, we compete with schools that are about twice the size of us. So it's sometimes size isn't always the only issue. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a larger pool to grab from. But even within that, we're not even close to 50% of those students are male. We have a very small male student population. So, but like our seniors, we had four-year football players that were seniors for us this year, but we were able to add another whole group that had never played high school football before they were seniors this year. And, you know, we got a hockey player that he was exclusively a hockey player. We got a baseball player that was exclusively a baseball player, basketball player, exclusively a basketball player. And, you know, and a lot of these, you know, these guys are playing these other sports year round, you know, with basketball, AAU basketball, trying to get noticed by college coaches, trying to do all those kind of things year round, that they don't have the thought process of playing another sport often. You know, baseball, there's the wood and bat leagues and all the different, you know, there's the winter leagues and in the summer leagues and all these kind of things. And I don't begrudge that at all. But not only do have these kids not played football at all, they really don't have much of knowledge about the game, but they have skills that we can utilize if you know, we can entice them to come out and play some football with us. So we've seen that, and that's been very effective for us. Hockey players, last 2 years in a row, we've had guys that were mainly just hockey players. And they bring some definite skill sets that are effective on the football field that have helped us both times. So, you know, teaching a kid that's only played center on a basketball team how to come out and play football in one way is a challenge. In other ways, you know, going out for a route, box the guy out and go up for the ball. You know, and so we can speak a common language with them. But part of that is then we have to simplify the system. We can't be everything to everyone. I think when we had a little larger student body, and when I've coached at places, you know, coached at the college level, coached at larger high schools, those kind of things, you know, you can create a little bit of more of a complicated system. What we've done is we've kind of pared things down to be really good at a few things, repeat those things over and over again, and make sure that we do our job. I mean, part of that is setting our culture. One of the cultures that I like to set is do your job. So we, I stolen from the Patriots, but we keep the system simple. You have to go from point A to point B, and we just ask you to do that. And if you do that, then we'll be successful. And all we're going to ask for you in addition to that is just with a little extra effort on getting there. So that's a philosophy of ours. I know, Connor, you're on our staff. You saw that. I don't know. You can speak to playing at Lawrence as far as their philosophies, as far as similarity, differences, those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. I think our major difference as part of this transition was just our tempo. Immediately, as you mentioned, I think the first thing you mentioned about 8-man football, it's a very fast game. It's a lot of open spaces, regardless of the fact that they do shrink the field a little bit width-wise. It's a very fast game. And I think as you said, do your job. With our transition, it was a lot of it came from the wristband, actually. And, you had your one responsibility on there. And just like 11-man football, it's not any different. You still got to make the passes. You still got to make the blocks. You still got to, make a guy miss in space to break something off that's a good run or even a pass or whatever the case may be. Do your job, and like I said, ours was a tempo. That's where we caught a lot of guys off guard with the fact that you look at these teams that are smaller, not a whole lot of guys that they can switch in and out. You got a lot of guys going two ways, which is what we did and what we did at Sacred Heart as well. And by we, I mean Lawrence in high school for me, and then coaching obviously at Sacred Heart, a lot of guys going two ways. So that's an advantage to be gained. Use everything you can. You got a team with their hands on their knees, take advantage of it. And I think, especially in 8-man, it's fast, get it out, get it to your athletes in space, and let them do their job.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we try to be up tempo as well. I think that Connor's group at Lawrence at that time in particular was probably even a higher pace tempo than we've been able to experience here. Actually, in some ways, we've actually had to slow down a little bit versus what we played tempo-wise at 11-man, purely because of the kids not ever knowing even a football concept whatsoever. And so sometimes we've just had to slow down the pace a little bit to be able to get them on the right track, because I had seniors this year, like I say, that were great athletes, and I had to get them on the field, but they don't know what a flag route versus a post route versus a comeback or anything is. So they're asking you in between, now what was that again? Because literally they just started practicing football a couple weeks before that. So and they're having to play both ways for us already. So it's a learn on the fly on the thing, and we're constantly coaching them up.
Learning curve comes along the way, and I recall back to walking the halls in high school. It was those guys that had never come out for football, that this was their first year, that you were trying to get everything down. I mean, it was week one. Running routes. We're running routes constantly. Practice is got to be perfect. And I'd be walking by guys in the hallway, and be like, what's a 7 route? What's an 8 route? What's a flag? You run a post? What do you do? And it's just always keeping your guys knowledgeable, always, brushing up on things, watching film. Film is huge. I used to watch film like crazy, more than anything. And you learn a lot in film, not only what your team does, but what your opponents do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the concept of simplify and repeat, like that, we've done a lot of that. I think film huddles, huge for us. Just a great way to get the guys up to speed as quick as possible. And then I've had the pleasure of having some young coaches that, really can relate, you know, just fresh out of college, that kind of thing, or even in their senior years of college, the come back or come in and help with our young guys. A lot of times I'm walking off the field after practice, and guys like Connor are out there with a couple of our wide receivers and our quarterbacks, and they're running additional routes and just throwing some more routes. So, you know, guys being able to and willing to put in those kind of efforts after some pretty hard conditioning sessions to come back out there and throw some more passes. That's a reality for us because guys are playing both ways. So we got a lot of conditioning that goes on, and we put a lot of effort into making those competition and making them fun. I'll just say that just as a thing. Again, you don't want to lose kids. We're definitely dealing with a particular generation. This is not to say good, bad, or indifferent. They're great kids. They'll run through a brick wall for you if you can get them to come along. But if you make conditioning just where you just run, and you don't have any kind of competition or fun along with it within that conditioning, then they're going to be pretty miserable. There's going to be a dark cloud hanging over your team. And so we've gone to great efforts. You know, our conditioning coach and just our coaches in general have worked really hard at making conditioning a fun, competitive atmosphere so that we can get into work. We want to make sure that we're the team in the fourth quarter is still fresh and ready to go. Over the last couple of years, in particular, I can't tell you how many times that you know, we've pulled away from teams late. Then you go, boy, you blew out that team. Well, it wasn't a blowout necessarily at halftime, you know, and we just kept on competing. And so simplify, repeat, and be in great shape to be able to compete late. So, any additional thoughts you have on that, Connor?
I think you said it pretty well there. You kind of mentioned the generational gap there. I was kind of right at the end there where running just kind of was what it was, and that's what it was. So luckily I was with a team that we didn't necessarily need any competition per se. You know, we made it amongst ourselves. We held each other accountable. And speaking on just kind of building the commitment, you know, once you start winning, you're going to see a lot of people come out. And it's really the ones that you stick with. It's the summer workouts. It's, you know, 2-a-days. It's 7-on-7s. It's all that. Really, you can build a very close-knit team, even regardless of those guys that, you know, are first-year players, stuff like that. Really, as I mentioned, we didn't need competition per se. It was more, you know, I'm going to hold you accountable. The guy on my right, the guy on my left is, you know, you guys are coming along with me. And we kind of always, all of us took that mentality into every practice, every rep, every day in the weight room, every sprint, anything it took. And that's, if you can build a team like that, a team that I built, the team that Lawrence built, the team that, you know, Sacred Heart has built and is building, it can definitely change things around, and you're going to see some massive success in this game.
If you get the key leaders on the team to buy in, you know, heard a coach a long time ago call it a bell cow. You know, that when the bell cow comes, the rest of the cows come. And not to make these players into cows, but when you get those key bell cows, you know, on board with the weight program, with the conditioning program, when they're doing it in the off season, then when they're trying to get better, and you know, then you're going to have a successful program. You know, I think especially during this time, you know, we're sitting in the middle of a time where we've been quarantined and haven't had the same access to our athletes as we normally would have. You know, off season programs, lifting, and just those kind of things, and even them playing other sports, staying in shape to what they're doing in other sports. That those leaders and them talking amongst themselves and pushing each other, you know, through text, through phone calls, through video chats, through those kind of things. Guys, you know, lifting dumbbells in the garages and showing other guys, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm getting better today. Are you getting better today? kind of stuff that's going on that we've seen that's been great here at Sacred Heart, and that's just a culture you gotta develop. And I think at the small school level, it's even more important because you don't just have this huge pool of athletes, that are gonna come out, and even a small number can be committed, and you still got enough to field a really good team. It takes everybody. When you got four boys in an entire grade, you need all four boys to be fully committed, and that's just and that group of kids has been fantastic, by the way. So they give every day at practice. So
and I will add another big thing that I saw, and it was different for me because my coaches in high school were employees of the school. They were teachers. They were our one was an AD. But accessibility is huge as well. As a learning curve, you're going to have questions. You're going to have, hey, coach, what, in this situation, what do I do here? Pre-snap reads, stuff like that. If it's a play, anything, you're watching film, you see something. I was blessed with the ability to walk into my coach's room whenever I wanted to and say, hey, let's watch 10 minutes of film and break this down. Let's figure out what we're running this week against this particular defense, stuff like that. But always being accessible. Obviously, that's not a reality for everybody. Just being able to pick up the phone and answer questions whenever. But I was blessed in that sense, and I think it's a real key thing when you're learning something new, when you're going through changes like that. Speaking on the terms of a first year 8-man team. There's always going to be questions. There's always going to be, problems to be had through film, through practice, whatever. Commitment and accessibility is huge for coaches.
And I think that's an excellent point, Connor, because I think increasingly at the 8-man level, coaches are not in the building during the day. So that's just a reality of finding ways to connect with your players when you're not in the building. That's a reality for me. Even though I try to get into the building as often as I can, but I work outside of the school, and so that's something I've used. Things like we use the band app, and that's just a communication app that we got all of our players and all of our coaches on, where we can communicate and we can talk through that app, and then Huddle as well. So we're putting playbook. We're putting information on Huddle, so those guys can access that kind of stuff. But and just just saying, hey, text me, hey, call me, let me know what you're struggling with, and I'm here for you. It goes a long way. The more you love on them, the more you can also give them negative feedback as well. We got to have that ability and have that relationship. Again, maybe it's generational, although I think this is something that's probably true. It doesn't matter if you're playing in 1960 or you're playing today. If they don't think you like them, they're not going to take the criticism the same way as if they think you care about them. And when they know you care about them, then they'll go run through that brick wall that I mentioned earlier for you. And I've had not only myself, but I've had a great coaching crew around me that have just been able to relate with the guys, been able to come in and grab that relationship with guys, because we're not going to relate with every player either. You're going to be able to relate with this guy. You still care about this other guy that you don't have a huge relationship with, but you might not be able to build that rapport. But if you've got a coach that can, and we even talk about it as a staff, how do we relate with these players? Who can connect with who, and those kind of things. And sometimes that breaks down positionally, and sometimes it doesn't. Our quarterback coach may relate with, our left guard, and that's the guy who they relate with. And so just because you're the O-line coach doesn't mean, you got to form that relationship. But let's make sure we're all connecting with all the kids as much as possible. We've even had a reality in the last couple of years where we've had some female athletes on the team. That's been a new reality for us. And a couple of years ago, one of our female athletes, actually when Connor was with us, that actually she, by the end of the year, had to become our starting kicker. So she was doing our extra point kicks, she was doing our kickoffs, and she did a really nice job. She even had some nice reps for us at the D tackle position. She was a powerful athlete. I don't want to say that because she's a female, she wasn't to play on the field during the regular offense defensive play. But it's just a different reality. They obviously have to change in a different locker room, and then bringing them into the team is a different challenge, and just a different reality than your male athlete that walks in and he walks into the locker room, can do everything with the rest of the team, and you got to find ways to connect those athletes that obviously have a few other stepping stones to go through to make sure they feel connected. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Connor. You were part of that.
Yeah, we didn't have any. So I mean, I just know, coaching wise, it was. I don't think there was a player in the team that I couldn't walk up to and get, honest, positive feedback from. I guess honest, negative or positive feedback from. So building a relationship is just there's nothing more important than doing that.
Yeah, I like having some young guys on the staff, as I'm, I keep on adding, as you guys can see on the video, keep adding gray hair in my beard. I become less and less cool every year. So, having some younger guys, some guys that are a little bit closer age-wise, has been a really nice ability for us to keep that connection with the players and just a little more relatability. So we've always had a 20-something-year-old coach on the staff that seems to be able to relate with the guys in a little different way than maybe us 40, 50-some-year-olds. And we've had a nice legacy of. I've got my scouting coach that puts together our scout team stuff and scouts for our next opponent and everything. He was doing the scouting here at Sacred Heart when I was in high school here at Sacred Heart. And all the way to, having Connor and some other young coaches on our staff. And so that kind of breadth of knowledge and relatability, I would say is a huge advantage for us, and to be able to hold that culture, of a winning program that's existed here at Sacred Heart for a lot of years, and that we can keep that going, so that that continues and that relatability continues at the same time and at the same pace. So I just think, so culture, relatability, simplify, repeat, and I'll say this, your concepts that you hold as an 11-man coach don't need to just be wiped away and gone as you enter the 11-man game. The 8-man game. There's obviously some things, there's realities that are different within the 8-man game than they are in the 11-man game. But, I have, thoughts and things that I like to do that come from playing, coaching that I took from coaches, from coaching under Tony Anise, and a lot of things, that I stole from Tony to playing under Mike Kavanaugh, and a lot of things that I took from those days. And all those things are still thought processes that I have in the 8-man game that I had in the 11-man game. And that doesn't really challenge. And we'll probably dive a little bit more into some of this when we do our passing game conversation. But yeah, your concepts are fairly the same, in particularly from an offensive standpoint. You're removing 2 tackles off the field and one skilled player on the offensive side. Your concepts change possibly a little bit more on the defensive side, but still there's a lot of crossover even in that. It's really more your run concepts being gap strong, on the defensive side, those kind of things. those things all still hold the same as they do in the 11-man game. There's a lot more space. You got to get more swarming to the ball, but those were concepts we taught in the 11-man game as well. Where you get into the passing game, there's just a requirement for a lot more man concepts, you know, on pass coverage. You know, I'll just say this, that you see a lot of cover 0, you see a lot of cover 1. We actually saw what I think was a unicorn last year with some cover 2, but that is pretty hard to pull off. I feel like that was because we were passing a lot of yards on the team, and they dropped into a cover 2 on us, which was great for us. So, but I'm not saying that. So this is just to say that you know, that you know, your passing game a little bit can simplify into, you're going to see cover 0, you're going to see cover 1, man under type concepts. You know, that's what we see on a weekly basis from every team, and they're either trying to just bring pressure on your pass game, so you got to do timing screens, you know, get the ball out quick, or you're trying to, your pass protection, your pocket's a little bit shorter, so we do a lot of concepts to try to move the pocket a little bit, just to get our quarterback an extended time in the pocket, and then, you know, get some of those more keep the ball concepts involved. But you're still going to be running a lot of the same thought processes that you have as far as the 11-man. So, any thoughts on that, Tom?
Yeah, I think I touched on earlier. You know, you still got to make the throws, you still got to make the blocks, you still got to, you know, have a good, you know, scheme coming into the game. Nothing changes as far as 11-man, 8-man for that kind of stuff. I think technique-wise, it is a little different. I think play calling is a little different. You know, as a quarterback, my whole life, I'm definitely more keen to the air game. But you know, you can get it done both ways. We had a very talented team, both when I was playing and when I was coaching, that we could really utilize. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You know, getting your athletes out into space, whether that be screen game, whether that be draws. You don't see as many draws in 8-man, but you know, a lot of the times you're going to be looking at one missed tackle and then you know, a foot race. And I know the first thing, as somebody from the outside coming into Sacred Heart, somebody who had experienced the 8-man game, just kind of, you know, infiltrating on a team that had never really seen it live. I think that's probably one of the first things I said to you, John, was, you know, this is going to be a lot of one-on-one. This is going to be a lot of athletes in space. It's going to be a lot of make one man miss and then sprint. And we play that importantly to both sides of the ball. You know, we got it to our faster players, our more powerful players, guys we know can make you miss in a phone booth, you know. That kind of thing, and then also instilled that on the defensive side in really instilling the importance of not missing a tackle, because like I said, it is, you know, you one move here, one move there, and you know, you're gone. So and that plays to both sides. So one thing I really like to do is, as a quarterback, and I was lucky enough to have a coach that really you know, listened to what I had to say. And I think we did a pretty good job of that at Sacred Heart. You know, guys would come to the sidelines, and there's nobody better to tell you what's going on than the guys that are seeing it firsthand. So I would come off the field. I'd go straight to my coach, our offensive coordinator, Cody Caswell, who I could bounce ideas off of on the sidelines. I said, hey, this is working. Run this next series. Run this, and this. And he'd do it. You know, complete trust. It was phenomenal. It was key, and even gave me full range to audible if I needed to, which was awesome. You know, if I see a mismatch, you know, here or there, we'd sling it out and get it to our guys that could do some damage when they got the ball. I think one thing that we really did well, both at Lawrence when I was playing and at Sacred Heart, when I was coaching, was run that screen game, because it really, I mean, it takes an aggressive team, kind of puts them on their heels. Now they have to stay true to their area if they don't want to get burned, and then we'd make you pay. You know, if you did have to be too aggressive, and that happened quite a bit. I know we mixed in some newer ideas at Sacred Heart. You know, I don't think you guys ran a ton of screenplays before I got there, and I think that was really key. It really helped us getting the ball out to guys that could do some work with the ball.
Yeah, I think you know, one thing I've always held as a concept is I listen to my guys up in the booth talking to me on the headset, listen to the players when they come off the field, and listen to my other coaches on the sidelines, you know, and what they had said. 2 years ago, when Connor was on the sideline with me, we had a nice ability that our quarterback didn't play defense that year, and so Connor and him were able to discuss, usually when the defense was on the field, you know, what are you seeing? What are you seeing coverage? What are you seeing? You know, and it's happening on the offense. And so they were able to have a great conversation. This last year was a little different reality. Our quarterback, really our first string quarterback, our second string quarterback, everyone was playing both ways. So there wasn't a lot of conversation on the sidelines. We had to get that information at timeouts, at quarter changes, at halftime, and get a little bit more information, you know, from them at those times, which definitely is more challenging than when you can get that sideline information. But we definitely we were never we did like to use screens when we were in the 11-man game, but we have probably tripled that concept in the 8-man game. And like you said, just purely because you've basically got one of two concepts, you know, when it comes defensively against the pass game in the 8-man game, and that is they're either going to bring pressure, you know, with a cover 0, or they're going to be in a cover 1 with trying to bracket and get help over top on that. So we don't really mind whichever way they're doing it. We just obviously have to recognize that we got to give our quarterback the tools to read that. And then we can take advantage of it. And passing game timing routes as far as the pressure, and then we can move the pocket and create some other things. You know, if they're playing a cover 1, or like I said, we saw you playing this last year in cover 2, and so we can just buy our quarterback some additional time to take advantage of those things as well. But yeah, no, Connor was great impetus for us in our passing game and learning from the 8-man level, coming in with all his success he had as a player, and what Lawrence had done when they had switched over to the we were actually we played Lawrence in our first year, and we were able to use some of those things against Lawrence. Well, we got a victory over there in Lawrence, which I think Connor enjoyed in particular. So, but thanks, Lawrence, for the concepts. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. So those are things that, you know, that the concepts, maybe you use more of something or less of something in 8-man game than you did in the 11-man game. But I think what Connor said also about, you know, just you're on an island out there. Even our offensive linemen, you're just much more on an island than you are in the 11-man game. And so technique becomes extremely important. Being able to be athletes. You know, I think probably the one athlete that struggles a little bit more than anybody else in that switch over from and it's not an impossible. I've seen some guys that are successful at the 8-man level that are like this, but is the big lumbering lineman. You know, some of those guys can be pretty powerful athletes at the 11-man game and struggle a little bit more at the 8-man game because you are so much on an island, and you have to be able to have the footwork and the technique to be able to keep up with maybe a little bit smaller but better athletes at the 8-man level. You know what you see at the 8-man level is a lot of times folks just think, you know, that competition gets less because you know, this 8-man, for whatever reason, the thought process the 8-man game is. But we actually took 3 athletes off the field, and so it got tighter because we weren't playing with a ton more players. We were just playing 11-man ball, and so we may have dropped an athlete or two in our school enrollment, but we took three athletes off the field, and so it's harder to be one of those guys that makes that cut, that gets onto the field for any situation. And so it's good athletes. It's a good brand of football, and it's just those little nuances differences, I think. So
yeah. In addition to the as you said, the big lumbering lineman, I think another player that gets kind of lost in the translation a little bit here is a running back as well. And the way that you use running back is very important. It's not going to be a lot of dives. It's not going to be a lot of counters. You're going to be looking at it, and this is what we did as well. Putting 4 guys wide, a lot of motion, even looking at swing passes. We did a ton of that at Lawrence, and I loved it. It gave me a lot of options, whether you had I had 4 guys that I could throw the ball to, 5 or 6 guys actually that were coming on and off the field that I was comfortable throwing the ball to. So again, very blessed in that sense, but also just your basic options. Our coaches did a great job of setting us up for success in that way. Bringing that motion to the field side, or open field side there, running even a swing pass, even backside slant. If that was open, you don't stop reading your pre-snap keys at the 8-man level either. It's not just a reaction. It's a read and react. As I said, you have that in this demonstration, or this example of keeping guys in motion, starting guys off fast, not from a standstill with the running back. You can obviously still mix in your dives, still mix in your counters, still mix in your sweeps, whatever the case may be, your draws, stuff like that. But I've seen, both as a player and as a coach, the most success coming from guys getting in motion, and really getting out into outside of the tackle box there, and just having options. And this speaks volumes to quarterbacks as well, who have that ability to read your keys before the snap. Like I said, I watched just countless hours of film. I always took the stance that this football is a chess game. It's a chess match. You can win the game before the game even starts, before the whistle blows, before the clock starts running. Knowing what your opponent's doing before they do it is a severe advantage in your corner there. Knowing guys' tendencies, knowing where your weak links in the defense were, and a lot of the times, there were plenty of games. I spread the ball out quite a bit. We had one receiver over 1,000 yards. We had everybody catching touchdown passes. I think about every player had over 3-4, even into 500 yards. Every receiver, that is, and even our running backs. I had a very good running back in high school, a very good couple running backs in high school that, again, we utilized in the screen game, and even just getting outside the screen, running bubbles, running a wheel route, getting guys open. And like I said, knowing where you're going to go with the ball, even before you snap the ball, is huge. And if that one doesn't open up, well, hey, you have this running back that's coming out of the backfield in motion, that you can swing it off to too. So strategy is just as important in 8-man as it is in 11-man. It'll always be that way. As I said, still got to make the throws, still got to make the blocks, still got to run, still got to do everything that you do in the normal game, in this game. And in some senses, you got to be almost faster. You got to react faster. You got to take better routes, quicker lines to the ball. Reactionary movements need to be quicker in some cases. So it's all the same game, maybe even a little faster.
Yeah, and I think we work a lot with our pre-snap read with our quarterbacks. We had some interesting things. So our all-conference quarterback that was a junior when Connor was with us and coaching him up, we had to move him to wide receiver this last year just because of the needs of our roster, and actually made a sophomore our quarterback. And so we had to do a ton of work with him on just that pre-snap read. He was a good raw athlete, but just understanding, what's he looking? How many guys are in the box? How many guys? What kind of Is it cover zero? Is it cover one? You know, what are our concepts? We give our quarterbacks a little bit of freedom to be able to audible out of a bad situation. We don't give them the full playbook, but just for what we do, we just give them an if-then type of scenario. But Connor went a long way to train. Even our guy that was a sophomore, because he was training when he was a freshman the year before, just on some of those concepts and what we do. And so just working with our guys and just making sure that they can look out, make those reads. You know, we've had in the last 2 years, five of our wide receivers are now have their names in the record books, just because of the way we've thrown the ball around. You know, it's been a good thing. And our running backs, in particular, 2 years ago, when Connor was on our staff, that he was so run and pass. You know, he had over 1,000 yards. You know, combined yards from scrimmage, and then close to 2,000 when you add in the special teams yards as well. So there was you need a versatile athlete in a lot of ways at that running back position. This year, our tailback was a little bit more of a handoff guy than he was in the pass game, but we were able to use him in our blocking schemes for the pass game more, and then we still were able to dump off a pass. You know, create some level concepts. You know, we like a lot of level concepts. Where we have a dump off pass, we have an intermediate pass, we have a deep ball, and so we'd have that guy come block and try to teach him to recognize, okay, you know, if the quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball, maybe nobody's open. You know, get off your block and get open for a dump off pass. And we always got the fourth option is we tell the quarterbacks if nothing's there, well, take off. So. You know, some quarterbacks do that more, some do it less, but we always have that option. I think that one thing I've noticed in the 8-man game, I mean, we're seeing some of this at the NFL level, let alone high school 8-man game, but I think height becomes less of an issue in the 8-man game because you're getting that guy out of the pocket and moving pockets. And I think that being able to run, being able to not necessarily be, you know, guys going to run for 100 yards every game, but being able to just be a little bit mobile to buy yourself a little more time just because, I mean, I'll just tell you, there's a challenge in blocking everybody in the 8-man game if they start bringing pressure just because you don't have a lot of linemen. So now you're asking skilled players to come in and you know, and hold a block for the old line of them used to. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you made a really good point there, mentioning Patrick Irving there, finding that hybrid player, the ability, somebody that's going to come in motion, who's quick as lightning, but can also, you know, run through somebody. You find that guy, and that's a team that you can work around too. Getting out of the backfield as a pure running back, you can put him in the backfield. You know, you're running counters, you're running sweeps, you're running pitches outside, you're getting guys out ahead of them as well. And you can really build some success around people like that. Working into the screen game, working into your swing passes, your pitches, or just a pure coming in motion, hand off to the backfield, and taking off. And then you can also work, you know, you can work your quarterback counters in there. You can work your quarterback sweeps in there. Just adds a little more versatility to what your playbook can be.
Absolutely. Kyle, I'm going to try to bring up here a concept we used in the 11-man game, and it speaks right to how we use Patrick. It's in the 8-man version of this play. You'll see Patrick going to pull up. It's a play that we call Spartan, and we used it really effectively in the 8-man game, but we used to use it in the 11-man as well. We want to get a guy to drag across the field, kind of right behind the linebacker, and then we're looking to hit him as he hits the opposite side of the field up the hash. That's the main receiver that we're looking for. The same on the 11-man as a 8-man. See, we roll the pocket out. Same concept here. Hit that guy just right there in that bubble, and then just get an athlete in space and run. So that's the 11-man version of the NCR kick. see. Let me pull. Let's go there. Let's go for 13. So this is basically the same concept here from an 8-man level. To bring the player in motion, hit them the same place in that bubble. We're always trying to hit that athlete right after he passes right behind the linebackers at around the hash mark, and then just allow him to be an athlete. Got some nice downfield blocking there. Like I say, the concept's the exact same. We know where we're trying to put the ball. We do have some other eligible athletes if that obviously if that breaks down, but that's the concept on it, and it works the same. You just have to, instead of it coming out of the backfield that we had, as you saw in that 11-man, that was our tailback coming out and then dropping through there. We're bringing him out of the slot in motion and across. If you want to speak on that, Cameron.
Yeah, and that's a great play too, because you can also, and I know we ran this a couple times, but not only can he come in motion and kind of come right off that linebacker spot, but also, you know, a guy that is lined up against him that might be athletic enough or fast enough to stay with a player like that is going to almost kind of run into a natural screen at that point. You have linebackers that are especially in the 8-man game, kind of keeping their ground just because they don't want it's almost more of a spy defense at that point, but running right off of his tail there allows you some separation. Quarterback was good enough to get that thing to him right in the perfect spot, and Patrick did the rest there. But not only that, you can also run variations of you can have your quarterback come the opposite way and just have him as a lead blocker or that crack block at that, a good safe legal crack block at that point. There's just so much you can mix into motion like that and use to your advantage.
We always have, and this is something I stole from Mike Gundy as he talked about how does his offense relate into the high school game, and he's strictly talking about 11-man, but it works as well for the 8-man, and that is you build 5 run plays, you build 5 pass plays off of those 5 run plays. You run both sides of the field. All of a sudden, you're at 20 plays. You running out of multiple formations. Now all of a sudden, you're at 40 to 60 plays. You got more plays than you can run in a football game, so the concept's pretty simple. So that exact play that you just saw, there's run plays that we run off that, so you can't just, when he comes in motion and he doesn't come all the way across the formation, it's going to be that fast. No, because like you said, we'll run a legal crack play out of that and just, get a nice run off that. So,
and you got everything coming out of the same formation, the same look, the same motion. You can definitely confuse some defenses, throw some new plays in there so you're not running the same thing week after week, so guys can pick up on tendencies on film. And like you said, throw a guy in the backfield there, run a counter off of that crack. There's just so much you can do with it. It's so versatile, and that's one thing that as soon as I started at Sacred Heart, it was like, run these motions, run these different variations. You can have a lot of stuff that comes out of this, and John did a great job of developing plays out of those different sets.
Yeah, it was a huge advantage for us to have Connor on staff, just to kind of look at some of those changes. Here's a concept that I think this is the way we'll see. Concept that again we've run in the 11-man game. We also brought to the 8-man game. So against a cover one on a levels concept. So we're going to have basically one of our tailbacks running a rocket motion from a wing position, and he's going to be that dump off pass option. And then we've got another running back in the wing position on the other side. He's going to run that intermediate route, and we've got our tight end actually running the deep concept on this, making that safety make a choice. Is he going to come up and cover those two running backs and bracket that guy, or is he going to cover that deep ball? I believe on this one you're going to see that he chooses the intermediate route on this. Yeah, go ahead.
And let me add, prior to this, we had run a similar set to this where with that rocket motion, Ben would back pivot and then flip it under to Patrick, who was running right along the line there. So it was kind of, we ran that 3 or 4 times to pretty good success. I think the first one went for 40, 50 yards, and then kind of baited them into this, knowing, you know, they know once this rocket motion comes, Patrick's coming underneath, we're going to shoot this gap, leaving Kyle, the tight end, there to run a good route and for Ben to deliver a good ball here.
Absolutely. I mean, he's running by himself at that point. Just and the safety just made a choice, you know, obviously coming up on that intermediate route they were pretty worried about Patrick by that point.
Yep.
And so, like you said, we baited him. We definitely baited him into it. Here's out of a different formation, different thing, running basically the same levels concept this year. Let me see if but it's the same thing. What we had done in this case is we had run. Let's see. I think this is. We had run. I think it's this one. 21. Let's see. We had hit that on that intermediate route a bunch, and we were playing this game with our tight end and our wide receiver. Let's see. I picked the wrong quarter here. Sorry. Maybe it's. This is the game that we saw that cover 2. That's the only time I've seen it since I've been in the 8-man game. This might be. Let me see this one. This is the Texas concept. No, that's it right there. So we'd been throwing that underneath route. I think here. Let me pull that back. To our tight end a bunch. Here they came down on that. Knew our guy had him over top, and so we hit that. Quarterback did a nice job recognizing that. But we and then we even started doing on the same basic play, just a little variation on it of the same concept. Just gave a pump fake. So again, same play. My eye in the sky said, "Hey, just tell him give a pump fake to that tight end underneath." And we've been, like I said, we've been hitting that. Actually, the tight end's open in this, but the deep guy's wide open, just all by himself. And that's a foot race. I think he slowed down just to step on them. But yeah, so levels concept's a big concept. If we can get the time, if they are playing a cover 1, we'll probably play a lot of levels ball against that, just because we know that we take, we got a little bit more time to move the pocket and give our quarterback some leads downfield. He's got some good if-then scenarios for himself, with a pretty simple read of reading that safety you know, we do a lot of alley to safety reads. Just keeps it real simple. That second concept there, he's got a full field read. So most of our concepts, we try to keep it to a half field read for him, and just, you know, he's got a safety and a linebacker in that alley to read, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It makes quarterback progression much easier as well. Going to something like that, because you can easily, you know, you have your deep ball option. That's not there. Okay, quick flip the shoulders, check down here. That's not going to work. Okay, come here. You know, it's a super easy, very simple, quick progression that you can run with just about any quarterback.
Yeah, we'll do a lot of here. I can switch my screen back here real quick. Now we're back to our normal view.
Yep.
We'll do a lot of concepts too, where we're bringing a guy in jet, and we can either give to that jet guy, and then we can read alley to safety to hit an inside release vertical with our wide receiver, just to get that guy on an inside of his guy. If that safety floats with our jet, then that's an easy vertical hit there, and we'll use that concept as well. That worked in the 11-man game for us, but I think it's a really hard concept to stop if our quarterback can have the time to make that read, which isn't a real lengthy read, really.
No.
In the 8-man game, sure.
Yeah, I think something too. A lot of the times you're going to see one safety. If you are going to see, you know, a safety, the most important thing to do as a quarterback, and I love doing this, especially, you know, with pre-snap reads, knowing a lot of the time where I was going to go with the ball before I threw it. Just a quick and simple, whether it be a pump fake, a little head fake, whatever, just a little movement to get that safety, or the deep safety kind of off of your read or off of your hot in that particular set. Or just looking them off, just a simple look off. Check down to the backside slant or the backside 9, whatever it is, and get him off that center, and then you have more room to work with. It's a very simple concept, very easy to work in. Something simple you can do in any practice before a game, whatever. It's just I was always kind of thinking like, all right, I'm gonna look them off, and we picked apart some defense doing that.
It's a huge concept. I think just at the high school game in general, we teach. We'll run a little bit of what we call Tampa, dropping one of our linebackers back into coverage, and he plays a robber role. And we just say to him, there's one or two kind of quarterbacks you're going to know quickly in the game, and it's either the guy that looks off every time and throws the other way, or he's staring down the receiver and throwing. And our guys are able to pick off a lot of balls with that once they realize what kind of quarterback he is. So we try to train our guys not to have those kind of tendencies. One time, throw it to your guy right off. Next time, look them off, maybe give a pump fake, and mix it up. And again, it's not like it's rocket science here. It's just a little bit to keep the defense honest.
Consistency.
Yeah, that's the thing about the passing game and the 8-man game. Like say, just reiterate, it's cover 0, it's cover 1, and it's man under concepts. You're not going to see a lot of zone. Like I say, I've seen cover 2 one time, and that was kind of a Katie guard the door concept. I think the other coach was just grasping at straws because we had thrown for 300 yards and 6 touchdowns against them that game. They were a good team. They made the playoffs. So that's not to bash them. The coaches just didn't know what they could do to stop our pass game at that point. So they were trying to drop another guy into coverage. And so we just got to, for the most part, when they did that, we just gave our quarterback the green light to hand it off at that point, no matter what we had called. We like our numbers in the box at that point. And so, yeah, that's the simplicity of the defense that you're going to see from a pass game standpoint. Is another reason that it's really nice to be able to utilize the pass game in the 8-man game. You just have to have the athletes to be able to beat their guys, and then if you can do that, then you're going to have you're gonna have a fun game. And really teaching your quarterback timing, footwork, and quick release, I think is even more important probably in the 8-man game than the 11-man game. If you ever watch arena football, those guys get the ball fast, and that's true with us as well. We want to make sure our guys don't get rattled, don't try to overthink it stuff. Get the ball and let her rip. We want to get the ball out fast. On our slant routes, we basically teach you no footwork, just have a snap and throw.
Catch and go. Yeah. And to speak on that a little bit.
You see him do it all the time. Sorry.
Yeah. To speak on that, I think the only time I went under center as a senior was victory formation. So we were in shotgun all the time, and I never went any further than a 3-step drop. It was get the ball and go. I think accuracy can in a sense negate arm strength. So recognizing guys that are open, putting the ball out there, letting your guys run underneath it is generally works in your favor. You don't need to have a 60-yard arm to be successful in 8-man.
No. And again, then the screen concepts, that's probably the most footwork you're going to do at a quarterback. It's just dropping back to bring those guys up. But I would say there's not a lot of more than 3-step drops out of our stuff. So we did a little bit just to strengthen our goal line area a little bit more under center this last year. As we felt like it was a little weakness in the year before, when we were playing short yardage situations near the goal line to open that up a little bit. So we did some under center, but not even exclusively even on that. Just we like our guy back. He can see the field. He gets a good read, and then we just get athletes in his place. So, yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, we utilized two guys that I take that back. 3 guys that had never played high school football that were all basketball players were probably 3 of our key wide receivers this last year. And they didn't necessarily run the crispest routes. They didn't run the things, but we just tried to teach them, utilize those basketball concepts in the passing game. You still understand spacing from basketball, go where they ain't. And our quarterbacks had to be a little bit smarter that these guys are just going to try to find open space, gave them a little bit of option on where that space might be, and just deliver a ball. And those guys know how to jump, they know how to get up the ball, and they know how to move and do some athletic stuff. So that worked really, really well for us. That pass over the top, that was a basketball player. That was his first game of playing varsity football. He caught 3 touchdown passes for us that game. Just being an athlete,
Yeah.
Sometimes I was like, what route did you just run? I don't know, but
Right.
getting open, the quarterback recognized it.
Yeah, and I think you just said it right there, which is something I used all the time. Knowing who you were throwing the ball to, recognizing strengths and weaknesses, both alike. I had a guy that I knew could go up and get a ball. So he was the one that got a lot of those jump balls, or you got an end zone fade or an end zone 9, something that where I knew he could go out there and jump through the roof and go and high point a ball and get a ball over the defender. There was another kid I had who I knew was a burner. So, I'm putting the ball out, leading him underneath it and letting him kind of run under the ball. And then there, multiple guys that I had were your hands team guys who I could throw back shoulder. I could throw, low balls if I needed to. I could throw them high if they go up and get it. Kind of your versatile hybrid type players. Not your jump ball guys, not your deep ball guys, but more your hybrid in between. Like I said, the back shoulder guys, the low ball guys, stop routes, whatever the case may be. Just using your strengths really and recognizing them before you even get out there.
Yeah, I think that was another thing that helped us. We took our all-conference quarterback, a wide receiver. He ran really nice routes. Obviously, he understood the concepts really well for us by being in that receiver. Basically, gave us another quarterback in the huddle. The guy our quarterback could count on to be where he was supposed to be at all times. So he's a little different athlete than those than maybe some of those basketball players I was talking about. Although he was long and fast as well, but he was able to kind of be that sure-handed guy that was always going to be right where he was supposed to be, and our quarterback could count on. Okay, here's a guy I can hit when everything else goes to heck. That guy's there. So again, strengths. Knowing the guy's strengths and really making sure our quarterbacks, even like this last year, it's a sophomore quarterback, so a young guy, we got to make sure he knows how to, just be able to lead on the guys in the right way and have that rapport. And so coaching them up on the fly, coaching them up constantly, and the way those guys progressed over the season, it's kind of amazing. We talk about that. That kid that was a senior, that was a center on our starting center on the basketball team that never played high school football before. He progressed from a guy that I think the first time in the first game when he took a hit, he came on the sideline and was like, holy crap, I think my spleen just ruptured. To by the end, he earned a college football scholarship. It's going to be, playing next year at the collegiate level. And the growth, if you just keep on coaching them and emphasizing their strengths and utilizing what they can offer, but also not just say we're just going to utilize that. We're going to keep coaching them until the season's over. The last week we're still coaching our guys up to get better. So that's always a key. So just to wrap this thing up, guys. Like I say, I'm John Ruggles. I am the head football coach here at Sacred Heart Academy. If you have any questions, really feel free to reach out to me. My number is 231-414-5145, and my email is jruggles, ruggles71@gmail.com. If you have any questions for me, if you have any questions for Connor, you can either reach out to me. I don't know if you have anything you want to give out as far as contact information, but you can always reach out to me and I can get it to Connor, and we'll make sure we answer as many questions as possible in any way we can help, guys. We just want to promote the game of football. We want to promote 8-man game. It's a great level of football. I think that the renewed interest in our community and in our school has been palpable. I think that if you're just making the switch now, I think it's a great opportunity for you to really bring a lot of excitement to your school and your community.
Yeah, and anybody can reach out to me as well. Connor Murney. You can reach me at 269-501-0738. My email address is also Connor. That's CONNOR. C for my middle initial, Clarence, Murney, MURNEY @gmail.com. For Connor, cmurney@gmail.com. Be happy to chat. I'm not currently coached anywhere as I've moved out of Mount Pleasant last year. I'm in Grand Rapids now, so I'm looking to help in any way possible.
Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate talking to you, and always fun chatting up football. So see you on the field or wherever you're doing this fall.